Welcome to In the Loop podcast. I am your host, Jordan Jo Hollabaugh, and I love all things breakaway roping. Welcome back to our third annual 15 Days of Breakaway Roping series. In this series, we talk all things breakaway roping for 15 straight days, y'all. We interview the top 15 in the world that are making the national finals rodeo. We start from number 15 and we go all the way to number 1. We talk all things breakaway roping, rodeo strategy, horses, ropes, you name it, we talk about it. And one thing I love about this year is these girls have evolved. It's raw, it's real, it's uncut, and we are just so thankful to be able to do this. I want to give a huge shout out to all of our partners who make this happen, and to every one of you who is listening. Thank you for listening. If these episodes make a difference, please go and share it with your friends. Help us grow. Y'all, we're able to be here because of our listeners, because of our fans and supporters. And again, I just want you to know, thank you so much. I love doing this. I love podcasting, and I can't hold back any longer. So let's roll right into it. 15 Days of Breakaway, third annual. Here we go. Let's talk some breakaway roping. Okay, guys, so today we are here with my good friend, Rickie Fanning. Used to be Rickie and Engesser, now we call her the Fanster. She just got married to a great man named Rhett. Bless his soul. We pray for him every day. I mean, I really don't know. I think she drugged him. But anyway, he said I do this fall, and now they're hitched. So, Rickie, thanks for coming to the show today.
Thanks for having me.
So you're coming in this year, number 13. You've got 79,001. I was looking at last year's stuff. After the NFR last year, you had $73,000 won. So what a feat to come in this year, already having more won than you won after being at the finals last year. Your second back number. What's it feel like to get that second NFR title back number and head to Vegas again?
It's always a goal. I mean, when you go into, rodeos, and getting it one year was a blessing, and getting it the second year is just as big of a blessing. I mean, it's not easy out there. You're competing against so many incredible ropers. But yeah, getting to go back again, it's fun. It's a blessing.
Yeah, and it's pretty exciting. And one of the things I loved about you in Vegas last year was your family. They had like a whole section caved off over there, and they were going all in. They were cheering. Like, if you didn't hear them, you obviously weren't at the rodeo. But they're 120% behind you in your support system. You get to rodeo all year long with your sister Taylor. We pray for her too. Hi Tay. And your dad, he goes a lot too. So talk about that and what that's like, getting to rodeo with your sister and your mom and your dad, and just your support system that you've got behind you.
It's definitely a family deal. I mean, we were raised where we went to all of the rodeos together. We've been, me and my little brother, sister, we competed all the time. Everywhere we went, we were always together. It was a family deal. And so getting to kind of carry that over as we get older and move into the pro rodeos and stuff, getting that opportunity to travel with my sister, and then have my parents alongside, and then I get to see my brother at pro rodeos too. But honestly, to be honest, no way would I go if I didn't have her. If I didn't have the support system, I didn't have my sister to travel with. It's hard on the road as it is. So if you don't have that, there's kind of nothing to fall back on. And so having them, they're definitely my anchor this year. I mean, you get in slumps and you get in hard times, like, they're going to be the first people to tell you to keep going. Don't stop. It'll get better, and you got to have that. And so it's just a blessing to have them there in your corner all the time. And yeah, at the finals, I have a bunch of family getting to come back, and it's just so fun that, a lot of them don't have much to do with rodeo, but coming out there to support it's just huge. And it really makes you feel good to have that support.
Well, especially after all the hard work that goes into your year, the long miles, the long nights, the long drives, it makes it all worth it when everything comes to fruition there, and you get to run one, your first one there. But you only went to 75 rodeos this year. And I know, just because I know you pretty good, I know that getting you out of the house is a really big task. And so, talk a little bit about your rodeo strategy. You guys you're centrally located. I say that, you're in South Dakota. You also have a place in Texas. And so you try to kind of make your way around, but talk about your rodeo strategy going to 75 rodeos. Some girls have went to 100, some have went to less, but I think it's just what works for everybody. So talk a little bit about your strategy this year.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is for us is it's kind of just like last year. I mean, we want to go compete, we want to go, but at the end of the day, our main goal is to be in the top 30. And so in the summers, we're in a great location because we get to hit all those ones around us, and then in the winters, being down there, hopefully, I mean, you hit big at the winter rodeos, but I mean, it's like we don't want to run everywhere. I like my family. I like coming home. I like to see my grandparents. It's hard to be out on the road a long time and then not be able to see them. And so that's a lot of Taylor's eye. And a lot of it too is we want to capitalize on good rodeos. I mean, the ones you're entered in, our goal is to capitalize on those rodeos and make it work. I mean, if it's meant to be, it's going to happen. But if it's not, we're not going to push it. And so going to those rodeos, yeah, we went out to the Northwest this year that we didn't go last year. And that was really fun. We had some good friends that we stayed with out there. But I mean, it was so hard, and we were gone 4 weeks, I think, 4 or 5 weeks. Like, I mean, we weren't gone compared to people that are gone 3 months, you know. But it's just hard for us because we're a big family-oriented family, or oriented people. But we just, I mean, it's hard to be away from our family, my husband, like my relatives. I mean, it's hard for us, and we rodeo because it's a passion for that's what we do. It's a passion that we want to capitalize on the ones we go to, really.
Well, and talk a little bit more about your family and your husband. I know you guys have your own business, your family has their own business, and that's something that you guys are a big part of. It's not, yeah, I know you're a rodeo cowgirl, breakaway roper, but I feel like that comes second a lot for you and a lot of the things that you do. So talk a little bit about that and what that looks like behind the scenes.
When I married Rhett, yes, their family has a big ranch and a bunch of cattle, and so that was a big priority for us. Is and that it's the lifestyle that we have. And then my dad, he owns a dealership, so the whole time that I mean, like growing up and stuff, that we were all a part of that too. And still to this day, I mean, we all, I mean, he does it all, but we like to say we help a little bit. But yeah, I mean, rodeo is like a passion for us. It's not our jobs. We like to have our jobs to come back to. But it's something that we it's a passion. I mean, we've grown up doing it forever, and it's something that we get to pursue, and we get to pursue it together as a family and as a sister. And so I think that's a big thing is we don't. We, I mean, it's bad to say, but we don't want to get caught up in the rodeo world when we have other things to fall back on. But I mean, we want to go, we want to be there, we want to be involved in it all, especially as it's evolving and getting so much better, you know. But yeah, there's definitely things behind at home that we like to be home for.
Well, and I think too that that just goes to say that I think that that's why, or one of the things that I've learned and know about you is it is a passion, and so you enjoy it. You guys always have fun. I mean, I don't know that there's been a time when me and you get together that we're not laughing, and I think that that is so cool because it is, as we've all seen, it's easy to get caught up in and roll with the punches and lose sight of your perspective when you get out there and you're on the trail. And so having that perspective, and it is truly a passion. This is what we do. This is not who we are. I think that that keeps it into perspective and, lets you to do the best you can when you're out there.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, it's easy to get caught up. You're putting in all the miles. You set your goals. You're trying to achieve all those goals. And sometimes they don't work out, but you're caught up in the moment and it's hard to look back.
So talk a little bit about last year. You came in last year and you first NFR, you got it under your belt. So what were some of your takeaways from last year that maybe changed some of your strategy for 23 and how you're going to go about it when you went about it this year?
Yeah, the finals, I mean, it was nerve-wracking, and I know going back in it'll be nerve-wracking again, but getting to go again, I kind of know what to expect now. I think that was the biggest thing. I wasn't sure what to expect, what I need to like be prepared for, like how it's ran, you don't, because it's run different than kind of what we see even just at the rodeos. And so this year, I mean, I still have the same game plan going in. I mean, you want to rope every calf, but I mean, I'm going to try. I'm down further. And so I'm just going to go every round for round and just see how it goes and read the situation, I guess. But I'm definitely not going to back off of it because right now where I'm at, I have nothing to lose. So that's kind of my game plan going in, I guess, is just really try to be on the barrier and go round for round and see how it is and change it up if I have to in third, fourth round or whatever. But I'm hoping not to go in as nervous as I did last year.
Well, and two, I think that we've seen you do that all year this year. You've run at the barrier and you've taken your shot. You have two great horses. Your little bay horse we see a lot, Rolo, with the one eye. I want you to talk a little bit about that. But he has been a huge part of your success. You call him the old man, and he's like a Barbie doll. Like he needs to come with somebody to push him in the corner, and usually that's Taylor or a bulldogger.
Yes.
We won't name any names. But it does make a difference if there is somebody to help you get him in the corner. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about Rolo and your success that you've had on him. I mean, he's been your main steed for the past few years now, but man, it just seems like you have so much confidence when you back in the box on that horse.
Oh yeah, he's just a winner. I mean, that horse in every setup and everything, he's just, I mean, he's gonna give you his all. Yes, he's a pain in the butt to get in the box, and he's been like that, but I bought him as a practice horse when I my other good one, and then she ended up going out for longer, and so I kind of just threw him to the wolves, and actually in college my last year, and then after that he kind of just became my number one. But I mean, he's so stubborn and he's so ornery, but gosh dang, he's a God-given thing because without him, I know I wouldn't be where I am. I mean, that horse, I mean, he's taken it all. And with my Greg getting hurt halfway through the summer and I had him to count on the whole time, I mean, that was the nice thing about him. You can count on him on any setup, on anything. I mean, he's going to, long, short setups, he's going to do what he needs to do to get you there. And so, I mean, it's hard to not be confident on a horse that you know is going to work the same every single time. I mean, he might stand crooked and funky in the box, but as soon as you drop your hand, I mean, he leaves, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, crooked and funky and less than two flat. I mean, really, it doesn't matter. So you kind of got kicked off at Logan a little bit too. I mean, that was like the end of the beginning. So we'll say the end of the summer, the beginning of the Northwest. And then that next week you got hot and you won a bunch of money at a bunch of different places. And one of the things I think too is as I've talked to everybody in the top 15, there's not a whole lot of girls that can say, "Hey, I won all these rodeos." And I think that that's super surreal because it's like, yes, there are certain places that you've won or places you've done good at, but literally you're just consistent and you're placing all year long everywhere you go. And it just like slowly accumulates and you chip away, chip away, chip away. So talk about keeping that mentality throughout the year. I know we have all these different setups and all these things, but how do you kind of keep that same mentality when maybe you're not winning first, but you're not winning last, but you're just kind of chipping away and getting the money put together?
My dad's big on that. He always tells us third and fourth pays too. He's like, I mean, he's always says, yeah, it's always great to go win them, and it pays more. But he's like, if you can consistently just keep catching and be where you need to be, and just get a little bit out of every rodeo, he said that's the biggest thing because then it adds up, and he's totally right about that. It's really hard to say that you're gonna win all these rodeos because there's so many good ropers out there. So like that was the biggest thing for us is if we can get and just catch our calves and honestly do the best we can, but as long as we get around the neck and we get out of the barrier, who knows? They might pay you, they might not, but at least you give yourself a chance. And so that was a big thing
Yeah,
that my dad always preached to. He's just like get it around their neck, hit the barrier, get it around their neck, and then you have no control after that.
right. So, talk a little bit about some adversity. I know that that's something that we all experience. You've talked about it a little bit. What were two of the biggest obstacles that you thought you overcame this year?
For one is always your head game. I mean that's an obstacle in itself right there. It's hard to stay mentally strong all year long when you're gone, when you're not. The biggest thing about when I ever got in like a mental stuff, we'd always be get home or something, and we'd get a practice with my dad, and that was a big thing that just get your confidence back up. So I struggled with that hard for a little while. I want to say in like the end of July, maybe again in August, but I couldn't catch a calf, and that was one of the biggest things is like overcoming how am I going to get out of this rut? What am I going to do? I'm on the road. Like it's hard to knock off and find somewhere to go practice, and you don't want to because you only got your good horses on too. So that's always a tough one. And then another big one was losing my copper after Sheridan. I got back and I mean, he was doing good, but he was a little off. And then I found out that he needed like 3 months off. And so after not having him, knowing I still had the full summer ahead of me, it was kind of nerve wracking at the same time because I mean I don't want to put all that pressure on my old man because I mean he's older. not knowing, I mean, I could, like, I mean, he could handle it, but it was hard to just not have another backup. And so, I mean, of course, Taylor would let me ride hers if I ever needed to. But not having him in the trailer too, it was like, oh gosh, like I got one horse, like it's a lot of runs on him. You're always thinking about that. You're always thinking about what if something happens. And so that was hard for me to just overcome that and be like, yep, he's out. He's not on the trailer with me. He's in like rehab, like, and really focus on Rolo and the path ahead of us and try to get through that and where we're going to go up from there, kind of.
So when we kind of knew that, and you knew that, hey, like I've got one horse. Did it change your plans or your strategy any? I mean, do you like when you're roping? When you have Rolo and Copper both sitting there, is it a certain arena setup that you pick which one you're going to ride? Is it a certain different? I mean, what makes your choice? And when you knew you only had one, did that change any?
And that's a little bit like when I have both of them in the trailer. I like Copper. I usually ride where I have to score a little bit more, and or the calves are stronger, because he's so much faster. And so I would ride him a lot. But then if it was a shorter and you had to be real quick, I would ride Rolo. And so I mean it varied. But then not knowing that I had like when Copper was out, what if I got in those long starts? What if I got in those things? And so I really had to. Really change my mindset and be like, Rolo can do it. Like just because I didn't ride him at those setups doesn't mean he can't do it. And I think that was a big thing overcoming. Like it's okay. Like I mean, he's done it all. He's been everywhere. But and no, it like as well as like entering and stuff. I mean, we didn't enter enough really to I feel like kill him, and so like we always would got to go home for a couple days, or we always had somewhere that I could really turn him out. And so the way we entered and the way we went, I don't think it would have changed whether I had one or two.
Well, and two, I guess what I love to hear, and I think that everybody listening can identify with, is we don't talk enough about the hills, the mountains, and the valleys that we all go through.
Yeah.
I think that you look at the top 15, you look at the NFR, and you're like, oh, these girls are invincible and they're perfect. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, yes, they are there for a reason, but it's also like we're all human. We all put our pants on the same way. And so I
Totally.
think that that's something like hearing a lot of y'all talk about, hey, like I had these struggles and
Yeah.
I had some of this and I had some of that. I think it just humanizes the fact that, yeah, you did, but then you also picked your butt up and you got
Yeah.
back after it and put your head down, kept going and
Mm-hmm.
fought through that. But it still happens. So like what are some of the things from last year to this year, like when it did happen, when you do go through those slumps, is there something that you did where you were like, hey, nope, I've been there, nope, not going there, going to go through that? Like was there something from last year to this year that helped you, or maybe something from this year that will help you for next year?
Yeah, I mean, last year it was like I got through like a real bad slump, and like didn't ever think that I was gonna get out. And so like knowing that that's where I was last year in a spot, I knew that this year, like once I feel myself, like when I struggle, like missed a couple calves in a row, okay, like what am I gonna do now that I didn't do last year? I just threw my sucker in the dirt last year for about a week, and I was like, I'm over this. And then this year, I think a lot of it was a total different mindset. Yeah, I'm struggling, but I went back to the dummy and I broke it way down. And I just like I broke my runs down. I saw where when I was catching like in a row versus when I was missing in a row. Like what was I changing? Where did I change to cause this, or what was I doing in my missed runs that I wasn't doing in my when I caught? And so I broke it down quite a bit, and I didn't let myself go down that low. I told myself like
Yeah.
it's gonna happen, you're gonna come out of it. You just go catch one, make it happen. But I never wanted a safety up. Last year I got to where I wanted to just safety up a little bit just to catch that one to get me out of that slump, because they always say it takes one. But this year I'm like, no, because you can't back out. And I'm like, no, if it's gonna work, it's gonna work. If it's the time's right, it's gonna happen. But I don't want to. I didn't want to safety up. I wanted to keep pushing and knowing like, hey, still hit the barrier, still throw right there, and figure out kind of where I was going wrong, I guess you could say. But I think that was a big thing this year versus last year is I didn't let myself throw myself in the dirt. Like I wanted to find a solution to what my problem was.
Yeah. Well, and I love that too. And I think that's just learning, about yourself. And, what works for you and all of those things and working through those problems. I've learned that the only way out is through, sadly enough. And
Yeah.
so you've definitely got to just keep trudging through and figure it out. But talking about the road, I know you guys you have a little bit of a devil's advocate because you don't stay out there for very long. Like anytime you need to wash your hair, you go home. So well, I mean that's true. You can't say that that's not true. You do that. I know you
It's
pretty
way
good.
more
Um,
convenient at home.
what what are some of the things that you love and that you hate about the rodeo road?
Oh gosh. Well, I love it. It is a tight knit community. Like I mean, we have some cool people that we've met on the road, not even in the rodeo world. I mean, there are stops that you meet on the side of the road when you need a place to stay, then you meet somebody through somebody, and that's really cool. And even like the group, I mean, we talk all the time, and like I mean, having you and I mean, there's so many people out there that like it's so fun, and it's just like your family. It's like a community. And that's super fun. And we would not have the experiences and get to see the sights we get to see if it wasn't for rodeo. And that's a big thing. I mean, we traveled places that there's no way I would have traveled if I didn't have rodeo. And so that's really fun too. But the rodeo road's tough though. Like it's a tough road. I mean, there's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of disagreements. I mean, and that just comes with the nature of it. But there's not a lot of things bad to say. I mean, I like the rodeo world. It's fun. I mean, but probably the biggest thing is it's tough though. Like it's not easy. I mean, especially when you get further down in the summer, a lot of things start going either your way and not somebody else's way, or not your way and somebody else's way. And then I mean, that would probably be the only thing, but you never know when it's going to happen. And so it's just a long, hard road. And to have the community that we have in the rodeo world that keeps people going, that's the biggest thing too.
Yeah. I think, and that makes it fun. At the end of the day, you can sit your ropes down and
Mm.
unsaddle your horses and get your chairs out and hang out and
Yep.
get some good conversations going. And I think, iron sharpens iron too. And the people you hang around is huge. And it makes a difference, but it is fun. It's something that I don't think you get to do anywhere else. And it makes it a special experience, every time that we get to do it and the places we get to go. But if you had to say, one or two special memories from this year that really stuck out for you, what would they be?
Oh gosh, really put me on the spot here. Um, well, I mean, it's always fun. Like this year, probably one of my favorites was Pendleton. The rodeo did not go very well, but my sister did well, so it was really cool because my parents got to come down. So that was really fun. We got to spend a couple of days down there. My mom got to fly out, and my dad got to come down, and so that was fun to have them somewhere out there with us. Really, my mom, because she never gets to go to those things, so that was a really fun opportunity to have her out there. That was a special moment, but. Um, I mean, a lot of my favorite moments, I guess, are the more of the hometown rodeos because a lot of your family gets to come out and they get to see you and they get to watch you, and that's always fun, and that's always something that we keep close to us.
Well, and you were the champion at Killdeer, North Dakota. They have several, I think they have what, three or four rodeos they put on all year long, which is, we are appreciative of that committee for doing that. But I know you won that one at one point this year. So talk about that and just, I mean, you feel extra pressure when you're backing in the box at a hometown or a circuit rodeo versus, somewhere 10,000 miles away from home where nobody knows your name?
I I don't know. It's almost like the adrenaline because you're like there you do know people in the stands and it's like heck yeah, like game on. And it's not like that. I mean, it should be like that for every rodeo, but I don't think I do feel the pressure versus I mean, it's always pressure set going in the back of the box, but I mean versus having my family there or not, I think it's more satisfying, I guess, if you do well because they're there, they got to see
Mm-hmm.
it too. They got to witness it. You're kind of feeling the same emotions in the moment. And so that's a lot of fun. But the circuit rodeos I mean, I love my circuit rodeos. I mean, the people, it's great, but it's also like all your college friends that you went to school with now are all transitioned into the circuit rodeos. And so I'm like, you've known these guys forever. And so it's always fun to get to go home and just go to circuit rodeos and see all the people that you haven't got to see for a long time. They're always a fun time.
Yeah. Well, I think, and that's one thing I think the Engessers and now the Fannings will be branded for is you guys always have a good time and you're always laughing and cutting up. And I think that that makes it fun and that once brings people around you. But so we're gearing up 2024. It was already started. Breakaway has come so far this year, just even from last year. You know, we got a really cool opportunity this year to get to be a part of Sioux Falls. That was a big deal. The Governor's Cup, Puyallup, we've gotten that the last few years. They've given us equal money there. So we're opening the door. We're knocking at the door, getting some good things. If you had to do or say anything that you thought would help impact the sport of breakaway roping, what would that be?
I think a lot of it too is like how you hold yourself. Like when it comes to wanting rodeos, like, or wanting equal out of money at rodeos and wanting these different things to help push breakaway in the direction that we are going, which is a good direction. I think it's like how we present ourselves as breakaway ropers. I mean, like the respect we have for the committees where, I mean, you might not have a good run, but say thank you if someone picks your rope up. I mean, a lot of that is getting the committee members, they need to know that they feel appreciated letting us in. And so I think that's a big thing is if we can show everybody the appreciation that we have for what they've done for our sport, our event. I think that's the biggest thing in talking to the committees. I mean, I think we need more spokespeople out there that aren't afraid to call up committees or have a sit down conversation with them and just kind of present why either they need breakaway, why this is what we would love to do if we could get equal out of money. But I think a big thing is just talking to the community or committees, like having that relationship with them, knowing that they're appreciated, that we are thankful for what they're doing. I think that goes so far.
Yeah. 100%. And I think, one of the biggest things to keep in mind and perspective is that most of these people are doing this as volunteer work. They don't have
Mhm.
to do this. They don't have to put on these rodeos. They don't have to feed us everywhere. They don't have to do anything. And so getting the opportunity, I know there's so many things that we would love to do and be a part of. And I think it's coming, but just getting the opportunity, we've got to also be appreciative and thankful and as well too, I know your husband, he's a roughie and he's also a timed event guy too, but he's mainly a roughie. Let's just break the news to everybody. So what have your perspective from him being a part of rodeo and on the other end of the buck and shoots and some guys and stuff, what are some things that you've learned as a breakaway roper from the other events?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing too about coming in as a new event and everything is, I think partially we came in guns a blazing, fast, and I think that caught a lot of other events off guard. Just the way we were brought into the sport, not all our fault, but and so, but yeah, having his perspective, I mean, he thinks breakaway is awesome too. He thinks it's cool that what we get a rope for, the opportunities we have, the money we have up for it. That's a big thing he said too. I mean, we talk about it a lot, and he's like, but you see all those rough stock guys, they're best friends with all the rodeo committees. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
he can, all the stock contractors is a big thing, and that's what he said too. He's like, make a personal connection with them. I mean, and that's a lot of it. Why I said it is because that's what he always told me. He's like, if you can make a personal connection with someone, you don't know how far that can go. I mean, he's like, take the 10 minutes to have that conversation because you don't know they might be having a terrible day, and what you just talked to them might inspire them to do something. And so I think that was the biggest thing is make those connections, make those relations, and that's what he said too. He's like, don't be afraid to step out and talk to somebody, even though you might feel uncomfortable about it. He said that might be the best thing that could be done, like for our event, for our sport.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think too that that's one thing that I've seen you do in and out of the arena. I mean, most of the time we can't see you because you're so short, but we can hear you,
I'm jumping in the back
from
row.
from a long ways away. But no, I agree 100%. Just talking, and I think we've all experienced and seen. And if I could stress enough, it's not so much what you win is how you make people feel.
Hmm.
And people are never going to forget that. And I think that that makes a big difference and goes a long ways, just like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people don't remember. I mean, shoot, you probably don't even remember how much you won at this rodeo or did this, but like you said, it's how you make people feel is that's what that's what they're gonna remember forever. A lot of people don't even remember if you make the finals, but they do remember that one time that you said hi to them.
I agree
Cool.
100%, and I think that that's so cool. I think we're gearing up, getting ready to go to these NFR the finals. There's so many kids that are going to be there that are going to be looking up to you and every one of the other top 15 girls that are roping. So what advice would you give to one of those little girls that are watching this NFR or travel out to Las Vegas to watch you guys at the South Point? What advice would you give to them or share with them as a little girl wanting to be a breakaway roper?
A big thing too, like I tell everyone, is like, I mean, follow your dreams, follow your goals, set goals, your dreams, your expectations, and a lot of it is follow it. I mean, the road's not easy, it's tough, but just because it's tough doesn't mean it's not worth it. And so I think that's a big thing that I always tell people. I'm like, chase your dreams, and a lot of it is chase your dreams, but don't get caught up in it. I think is a big thing that that's what I try to live by. I want to chase my dreams and I want to live the moments, but I don't want to get caught up in what's going on. You know,
Yeah.
there's so much more, there's so many things in life, but yeah, that's people ask, and that's what I would say is chase your dreams, follow them, and don't stop until you're satisfied, I guess, because a lot of people they fall short and then they regret it for the rest of your life. So it's like follow your dreams and just don't get caught up in it.
Well, and I think that that's great advice, and I mean, how can you go wrong there? Because if you
Yeah.
follow your dreams, you're doing what you love and what you want to do, and then everything else is going to come together. But you are fixing to head south, where it's a little warmer. Actually, it was nice there today, but we're still at the beginning of November, so hold tight, South Dakotians. It's going to get warm, cold, all the things in
Cool.
between. But you are headed to Texas to kind of prepare. So what does that look like? You getting ready for the NFR? I mean, do you order like a bunch of ropes? Do you run a bunch of calves? Do you, make your husband run laps? I mean, what does that look like? You getting ready for the NFR?
I think it's the same like the way I prepare for a rodeo. I mean, I try to break in a couple new ropes, but yeah, I gotta head down south. A lot of it is I more reps on my horses. But also hit some of the jackpots too. I mean, yes, I need to practice on them, but a lot of it, I gotta put myself in the situation where I'm gonna be. You're running for money and you're paying an entry fee, and so that's big for me because it completely changes my mental game versus practicing at home versus going to a jackpot. And so, getting the opportunity to come down to Texas before the finals, that's what I want to hit some jackpots and get some, like you said, get some ropes broken. I mean, and then yeah, I mean, practice the little things that we don't get the opportunity to do here because we don't have many jackpots going on right now. So yeah, just get to compete against some of the girls that are going to the finals, because they live
Yeah.
around that area too. So just getting the opportunity to go and compete is a big thing.
So talk about breaking in your ropes. I know that's something we really don't talk enough about. I think everybody does that a little bit different. So breaking in your ropes. I mean, do you run some with them before you cut them off? I mean, break down that process for me.
Yeah, it depends too. Either I'll just rope the dummy with one quite a bit, and if it feels good, then I'll cut it off. And then some, yeah, I'll just put a 8-away or whatever on my rope, and I'll go rope some calves with it about 2 or 3 times, and then I'll put it away too. It kind of once you figure out finally what you feel like when you want at a rope, breaking it in and stuff, you kind of know what you're feeling for. And so but I definitely rope with mine before, like I go to like a roping or a rodeo. And I want to cut it off at home and stuff. And so, but yeah, I definitely practice with it. I don't just pull it out and rope with it. And so it's roping the dummy several times or it's roping breakaway calves in practice a couple times.
And so tell me too, like where you guys are at right now, it's dry and it's getting warm in the day right now, but it's cold at night. Down here in Texas, especially in the Fort Worth area where I'm at, it's a humid booger down here, which I think is so much colder than, I used to live in Canyon, Texas, and I thought it is cold there and the wind does blow. But now I live by Fort Worth and I think it's colder because it's humid and I look like a puffed marshmallow all the time because I'm freezing. So, and my ropes feel different. My ropes feel so different, and I'm using a different lay, a little bit bigger rope, and things like that. So talk to me, like when you come down from South Dakota to Texas, then go from Texas to Nevada. What's in your rope bag, and are you changing up? Are you using heavier, lighter? What does that look like with a different climate?
Yeah, my ropes are pretty good about staying kind of the same. I mean, when it gets cooler, they'll get a little flimsier. but when it gets warmer, they get a little stiffer. But I just try to keep them like I'll keep mine either in my truck or if the heat's on in the like the trailer. If we're staying in the trailer, I'll put them in there. But no, I usually don't try to switch. If anything, I might go down to a 9.0 and rope with a um, lighter rope sometimes. But I usually stay pretty consistent with what I rope with. I
And
do
what rope are you using right now?
a Viper Rattler Classic.
Gotcha. Do you change up like in the summer or anything? I mean, do you use any other of their ropes, or have you just kind of stuck with the Viper?
I've kind of just stuck with the Viper. I just started actually using it like this last year full time. And I usually just use these ones. I kind of like them. I kind of finally kind of figured out what the temp how they fluctuate in the weather and stuff. And so, I mean, it's a lot of people do change, but I've had good luck with them. So
That's your story, and you're sticking to
sticking
it.
to it. Yep, I ain't changing.
You're old and set in your
I
ways.
don't like change.
I don't blame you. So we're talking a little bit of pro fantasy too. I know we talked last year about picking that team. The breakaway games are just fun. You know, something we kind of get to do as a part of Vegas. They've always been there for us. So this year, you know, it's same thing. Everybody gets to pick 5 ropers. The breakaway games is separate, and they're going to pay out over 17,000 this year. I mean, it's pretty close to the opportunities at the finals. The girls that get to rope. So I know I'm buying me a team. What does your team look like? I know last year, I don't remember how your team did. Probably not as good as mine. Just saying. But what does your team look like, and how would you go about picking a team from this year to last year?
That's a tough one because you never know. The finals, I feel like, changes a lot of things up, and some people are really on that you weren't sure, and some people are not on that knew we're gonna probably do really well. And so, I don't know. I That's a tough one. I guess you'd really have to sit down and really contemplate what the ones you're gonna do. But I
What do
don't
you
have it.
think that changes at the finals? You think Vegas is doing it to them? You think the atmosphere? What do you think's different?
I completely think it's the atmosphere. I mean, and especially like looking at being in the Thomas and Mack, I mean, you're in a packed house every night, loud. We're going at go rounds that are over 27,000 around. I mean, I think it's the money. I think it's the atmosphere. I mean, you're at the finals. Just that in itself, I think that changes up a lot. I mean, you got to be mentally strong backing in that box and doing your thing every night, and not letting anything get to you. And I don't know. I think it just changes. I think a lot. I mean, even at the breakaway, it changes, and we're not even in the Thomas and Mag. But I mean, you're in the finals. You just got out with the back number ceremony. I mean, all those things play through your head, and it's hard to just treat it like another rodeo because it's not just another rodeo. And so I think that's a big thing is just the change of where you are, what rodeo it is. Everyone's been talking about it for how long. So all those things go into one category.
Well, and I think too that one thing in the breakaway games that people don't realize, y'all rope 5 one
Mm.
day and then 2 days in a row, obviously, but it's fast and furious back there. Like if you're doing any horse changes, anything different, ropes, any of that stuff, you have to have helpers. And honestly, you don't have 5-10 minutes in between each round. And so having that composure and keeping yourself together, it plays a big part in all of the things that go into it. Whether if it's going good for you and
Yes.
you can keep it going good, that's great. But if it's going bad, you've got to pull your head out of your butt and be like, hey, I'm going to change this right now because
Figure
you
it
just
out.
don't have time.
Mhm.
And so I think that can change a lot of things up too at the finals and, for your team and just for everybody who's roping.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last year Rhett was warming up one of my other horses after I knew I was going to switch after that round, and he was warming up my gray, and I think I warmed him up a little bit more, put his boots on, and I had him booted up. So all I did was switch over my ropes, switch ropes, got him all cinched up and stuff, and I think I was like up in a couple. Like, I mean, you don't have any time to dwell on it either. I think that's the biggest thing about that is like you have 5 rounds. Like, okay, I missed a calf. Okay, how am I going to prepare for the next one? Like, you can't stop and think about that run. You got to give yourself the 5-second rule and move on and get ready for what's to come.
Yeah. Well, and it is. I know at the end of every day, everybody wants to take a deep breath and go to the spa because it's a
Yeah.
it's a long day and a lot of roping on and just a lot of atmosphere and a lot of adrenaline running and it's fun. It's fun being back there, but it's a lot more than I think that people understand sitting in the stands or watching it on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And I mean, you got to be prepared. You got to be ready. I mean, there's not much wasting time, and it's a lot of adrenaline at the same time. I mean, you're constantly your adrenaline's going. Like you just don't rope one, and then it's okay. I mean, like by that night, I was tired after the first round. I was like, I mean, I rode five, but I was like, dang, like it didn't take that long. But I don't know if it was just like the hype of it all too, and the adrenaline's all going, and then once it all comes down, you're like, wow. It's a lot more stress than you think.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's exciting. But okay, so one last question to kind of wrap this up. We're switching it up a little bit. If your future self, if your future Rickie Fanster, the Fanning, was going to tell you anything, what do you think she would tell you today?
I think the big thing, like I said, like if they told me in the future what I now, I a lot of it is live the moment. I mean, cherish the moments that you get, cherish the moments of being home with your family, the things you get to do outside of breakaway roping. Um, and I mean, going into the finals, cherish those moments, whether it's a good or a bad one. But I mean, keep those moments with you because they don't last forever.
I think that's great advice.
Mm.
See, future you is going to be a good lady in and out of the arena. Look at you go. But I'm very excited just to see, you bring a huge atmosphere with you to Vegas, your family, your husband, Rolo, it's just like a one-stop shop. So wishing you the best luck there and can't wait to see you. And we will see you out in Vegas.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.